Hello, unstoppable real estate investors. I'm Rihanna Starr with a special episode with one of the owners of Privy, my pal, my friend, the man, the myth, the legend, Benson Juarez. And Benson is here to make a special announcement about an incredible opportunity he's got for all of us to really learn Privy, opportunity to win some money. He's going to be kicking off a 30-day challenge next week. But first, we want to learn a little bit about the man behind Privy, and then we'll get into him actually demonstrating Privy. For those of you who aren't aware, it really is the new shiny object that's been around for over 10 years. So it's really not a new shiny object. And it's the MLS on steroids with all kinds of data combined. It pulls comps, it walks the dog, it washes the dishes. Folks, this is the way to find sellers and find opportunities. It tracks all kinds of data. So Benson, before we get into the nuts and bolts about Privy, tell us a little bit about you pre-real estate. Like, who was Benson before you got the real estate bug, and how long, and then we'll talk about real estate and then Privy.
Yeah, of course. I do want to say something though, and saying, the man behind the company, I'm just one of a bunch of really talented individuals. I happen to be kind of, outward facing, and I deal more with our customers, and I deal more with the public, and people see me on the trainings and stuff. And that's just what my role is here. But we've got an amazing development team. My business partner, Scott Fall, is really the brainchild of the product. And, he's involved daily with product development and new features and, all kinds of new stuff that we're rolling out. So I'm fortunate enough to get to, work with customers and work with people who are out there grinding every single day and are trying to make this business work. And so I'm fortunate to have that piece. And it's also too, exciting for me because I get to work at the intersection of my two passions, which is technology, which is what I went to school for. That's what my degree is in. And also in real estate, which is what I've been doing for the past 20 years. So I'm able to put those two things together and, just be excited about working with people and helping them to make movement. You wouldn't believe how many people, say to us, I've done everything and I wasn't able to have success in anything until I got Privy, and now I've closed my first deal. That to me is what this is all about. And that goes way back to when I first started. I've been in the business for 20 years, and I've done everything from being a lender, like a mortgage lender, a hard money lender. I've done fix and flips, rentals, wholesale, all of those. I've stumbled into a couple seller financing type deals, never intentionally, but yeah, it's been a fun long road. And Privy is, like you said, it's the new shiny object, but we've been around for a long time. It's just that, when we first developed it over 10 years ago, it was never intended on being a product that we would sell. It was developed to use in our business with our clients. And then it just kind of grew legs and people wanted it. And now we are where we're at today.
All right. So talk a little bit about where are you at today? What are your goals for Privy? And then we're going to spend the majority of the time on the challenge and then actually demonstrating Privy. And I mean, the floor is yours, my friend.
So Privy is growing all the time. I just got off a dev team meeting and we were looking at all the new things that the team is working on and building. We just hired, more developers. We're bringing on a new product manager to help us move all of these initiatives forward. Some of the things that people can keep an eye out for as we're moving forward is additional new data sets. We're adding in new direct to MLS data markets constantly. Parl, our director of MLS compliance, has over 20, close to 30 MLSs that she's currently working on, and then are in some sort of state in the process or compliance or development. So that's exciting, and we want to be up to about 80% coverage of the entire populated U.S. here within the next few months. So we're really close to getting to that point where we can provide the best data that's available, which is direct to MLS. It's the same data that agents and appraisers use. And in a business where numbers matter, you don't want to be going out and analyzing properties with Zillow, right, or some website that's out there, because it's not designed for analyzing properties. It's designed for someone who's looking for a house to live in, to kind of go look at pictures and have some fun kind of bouncing around on different sites. If you're analyzing properties with Zillow data or any other site, you're going to make a mistake, because it's not the full picture. When an appraiser goes and run comps, they're not looking at Zillow. They're looking at the MLS data. They're looking at county record data to get the full picture of what the property's worth in its current condition. Also, if what its after repair value is. So don't cut corners. Number one, that's a really major thing that entrepreneurs are notorious for, is trying to do everything themselves, cutting corners, trying to do things for free, hacking situations. It's what makes us great, but it also is one of our biggest downfalls, right? Is the hacking of situations. So don't hack. Do it right. And Privy's been developed to a point where now we can help you do all of that. Some of the new data sets that are coming, more off-market type leads are coming down the pipe. We're adding in a really amazing long-term rental analyzer, which will use probably one of the most homogeneous and robust long-term rental comp data sets that exist in the industry today. So that's going to be added into Privy. So you'll be able to, run your analysis on, cap rates and net operating income and cash on cash return, giving you numbers so you can really analyze properties thoroughly. Shortly after that, we'll be adding in short-term rental data. So short-term rental data like Airbnb and VRBO. So you'll be able to look at any property, and we're going to show you the highest and best use for that property based off of the data and some assumptions that we're making about, market rates and short-term rental rates and valuations and all the expenses and things that go into a deal, so that you can figure out what makes the best sense for you and your business model. So that's always coming, that is what's coming. And then after that, we're really going to be digging into how we can have a better real estate agent presence in the software, where there's just massive amounts of investor-focused agents that investors can align themselves with to help them execute their strategies, whether it is something as simple as a wholesale deal, or it's like you want an agent who has worked with 10 investors who've bought short-term rentals in Hermosa Beach. Like right now, you just wouldn't be able to do that. But it's super important. You don't want to work with somebody who says they know how to analyze short-term rentals or says they know how to, work with rental properties. You want to know that they have. And so our data, we're going to overlap with what we currently have via MLS, but also our county record data, and connect all the dots. And you can see, okay, here's all of the successful, say, short-term rentals in this neighborhood. Here's the vacancy rates. Here's what they will rent out with. There's some websites out there that basically take it to that point, but nobody's taken it to the point where it's like, okay, here's all the successful deals that have happened. Show me everyone that I can buy today that's less than $300,000 and matches XYZ filter. And the system will go out and find those properties for you and make sure you're getting the discount that you want by comparing the S price of the house to the price of the comps and being like, oh yeah, that house is at a 20% discount of what the market value is. So now we can help you get your cash flow in place to where it makes sense financially, but also, shoot, who doesn't want a deal? Who doesn't want to get a property at a 20% discount? Or if you're doing fix and flip or wholesale, getting it at a 50% discount or a 60% discount. Like the software has the ability to do all of that.
Okay, so here's a question for you, because from an investor point of view, it's a no-brainer. From an agent point of view, I had asked you this question earlier, but I want to ask it for the audience. Is an agent has access to the MLS? Why would they also want Privy? Seems like a double tool. So talk about how Privy can complement an agent using MLS.
For sure. So there's a lot of products that agents have in their back end that run off of MLS data. So the MLS data is just the raw data, and their MLS access is just a software product that runs off of it. And their software product that they use is designed for, you put in a property on market so that people can Zillow can go see it and look at it, or put in a property on the market and saying, okay, this house is for sale for 20 grand, and it's a bright, sunny, house. It was great for a first-time homeowner. All those descriptions. Like, it's a listing database is basically what it's for. It's not designed for comping. It's not designed for searching for deals. It's not designed for tracking markets or investor activity. All of that sort of investor-focused type activity has to all be done manually. And if you talk to an agent who's investor-focused, right away they tell you that the MLS itself is, it just sucks you in. It's a deep dark hole of information that doesn't help you execute a strategy where
it doesn't help you sort it provides just data, but it doesn't sort it in a way that you can use it. For an example, my partner and I are making offers on a couple of properties that we want to develop into micro communities. And I said, well, I'll just have my agent pull the comps for us. And he texts me today and he says, well, comps, all it is a big data dump. He said, I can't do anything with this because the comps, the way the information she pulled as an agent, she's like, okay, that's fine. But as investors, it's not enough for us to analyze the deal the way we need to make the offer we want to make. So I love this point that you're making.
Yeah.
What else?
One other point on that.
Yeah.
One other point I want to point out is that
yeah,
real estate agents are trained to when they run comps on a property, they're trained to determine what it's worth in its as is condition. They're not trained to look at after repair value. So when they pull comps, they're just looking at other sales in the area. It doesn't matter what condition they're in. And so because they want to know, like, what is a house? How am I going to list a house? What should I list it at? That's their process of comping, is what is a house worth today? And that's what they know how to do. And by the way, they don't teach you how to comp in real estate school. Like, you learn that OJT, on the job. OTJ, on the job training, right? That's what they try. That's what they do. And they're lucky if some broker is going to teach them how to do it the right way, but that's just in its as is condition. They have to learn somewhere else how to determine after repair value. Like, that whole process of making sure you're looking for properties in areas where investor activity exists.
Yeah, and unless they're an investor. Yeah.
To go and prove after repair value. It's totally different. And 95% of the agents out there have no clue how to do it. And it's not a hit on agents. It's just that they're all trained to do residential real estate, right? Where they drive people around. We've heard people call them glorified Uber drivers. I've been called that before in the past. But it's just what they do. And that's what they're trained to do.
Well, why don't you show us how Privy works, Benson?
Yeah. So one of the main reasons why Privy was developed way back when we built Privy, it was to automate the process of finding and analyzing deals. There's data, and then there's actionable data that you can make decisions on, right? That's basically what's happening. So when you first log into Privy, we show you some information that's actually very valuable, because one of the things that you mentioned earlier about MLS, Rayana, is that we're the only platform in the world that goes direct to MLS data on scale. There's a couple companies out there that has it in like one or two select markets, but with nationwide access to direct to MLS, you're able to basically do business anywhere. Now, wherever you see blue on the map is our current direct to MLS data markets. That's a current feed. Wherever you see the red is markets that we're currently working on. So I'm currently beta testing, Massachusetts right now, up in the Boston market, Real Comp up in Detroit, South Carolina, Charleston, Houston, Portland. Those are 3 markets. So pretty soon this map is going to be majority blue. And then we'll get to that point where we have 80% coverage of the entire populated US. And that will cover most of the major metropolitan areas. And we may not have direct to MLS data in like South Dakota, for example. Like South Dakota may never turn blue because there's, not a lot of investment activity out there. And Randall, there's over 600 MLSs, if you can believe that. It's ridiculous.
That's so just many. Crazy. Like in New York alone, how many MLSs are there? Like 5?
There's, like that. It's actually probably more than 5, but there's several of them that have alliances. Like we've got the Western New York Alliance, or New York State Alliance, that covers Rochester, Syracuse, Buffalo, and like those surrounding areas. So not every city has its own coverage area. There's no rule. There's no kind of like rhyme or reason for how they do it. It's all based on real estate boards. So if a real estate board has their own MLS and it's just a small little city, then that's what they do. Or up in the Mid-Atlantic region, or what they would call like the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, that MLS covers 6 different states. So that's like parts of Pennsylvania, all of Maryland, all of Delaware, parts of West Virginia, parts of Virginia, parts of New Jersey. So it's like it is what it is. And we have to go out there and learn the lay of the land and negotiate those so that we have that direct data for you. Now, where you don't see the blue is where the black and the yellow is, and that was either county record or public record data. That includes stuff like owner information, mortgage information, deed data, assessor's info, so that you can run your analysis on like who owners are, and then you can actually reach out to those people. And then the third party here is what we call it's aggregated MLS data, which is delayed. It doesn't have photos, and in some markets, depending upon the county and whether it's a non-disclosure state and those sorts of things, sometimes you have very even limited data or information that's there. So that is what we would call like prop stream level data, right? That's kind of what the basis is there, and then we stack on top of that the direct, where you can get even more access and more detailed and up-to-date information that will help you make better decisions and actually feel confident about your numbers, right? That's one of the big things that's lacking with investors and wholesalers and the like, is that they don't understand what a deal looks like, number one, and they don't know how to run their numbers to make sure that they're submitting an offer or get to the point where they feel comfortable in the numbers to whether they even feel comfortable submitting an offer so that they could make money. So most strategies in this investment world, they measure how good a deal is based off of a percentage of ARV, or percentage of after repair value. The after repair value is what a house is worth after it's been fixed up and sold, a flip, right? And if you were doing, say, creative deal structure, one of my friends is doing a challenge. His name is Pace Morby, and his whole thing is his community is called Sub 2, right? So Sub 2 means subject to, and it's more of like a cash flow approach, and creative structure with the seller, but everybody wants a discount. So no matter if you're just looking at Sub 2, or if it's wholesale, seller financing, fix and flip, buy and hold, short-term rental, you measure how good a deal is based off of the percentage of ARV, right? That's how 90% of them are. So how do you determine that? Well, that means you have to compare your subject property, the house you're analyzing, to a house that was renovated. That's the only way you can determine what the discount is. So what that leads you to do then is that you have to look for deals, properties, opportunities in areas where investor activity exists. Otherwise, you can't determine after repair value. You can't determine what that discount is. Unfortunately, most investors are taught that they should look for deals where they live. It's just what gurus have been teaching for years, and it's definitely a myth that one of my goals is to get rid of that myth, because it doesn't really give you an edge. It is not going to help you to better understand whether a house is a deal or not if you can go and drive down the street and look at it. It's not going to help you. It makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside, and it helps you see the house. And for newbies, it's one of those confidence things too. But it's going to hold you back, and it's not going to help you figure out what a deal is. A deal is based off the data. So where should you be looking? Well, right here at the top, we've got these little easy buttons. I'm going to click this button that says fix and flip. And then what we do is we plot on the map where all the fix and flips have happened in the last 12 months. And there's been over 207,000 fix and flips.
Look at that. Wow.
Right?
Are they
cool,
in
right?
the order that they happened?
No, this is a heat map. So this is these are based off of the number of properties that are in that general area. So this is not
Got it. Okay.
It's not 1 to 207,000. This is the number of deals that are in that region. So I mentioned South Dakota earlier, right? And I like to use South Dakota as an example because it's an extreme that people can get. Like if you
there's
live,
nothing, there's been 12 deals in the entire state.
right, and they're all in the capital, in Rapid City, or maybe Sioux Falls is the capital. I don't know. Rapid City is one of the biggest areas up there. But so if you live in Sioux Falls, do not look for deals there. Even if you live there, you're going to be wasting your time because every minute you spend in Sioux Falls is a minute you're not spending in an area like Milwaukee, where we've got over 2,000 deals. So it's an opportunity cost play, Rihanna. Like every minute you spend here is a minute you're not spending here. Could you stumble into a deal in Sioux Falls? Maybe. You have to be very lucky, but you would not be able to duplicate it consistently or predictably. And this is because it's a numbers game, and because there's a whole bunch of KPIs around real estate. The only way that you're going to turn this into a predictable, consistent business where you actually feel comfortable maybe leaving your job or saying, okay, I'm going to do a certain number of deals per year, like setting KPIs. The only way that works is if you're in a market with high investor activity. It will never work in Sioux Falls. So get real clear about what your goals are. If your goals is to change your life of yourself and your family and give back to the community and make a difference and live, be rich and work on the beach, do not choose your market based off of where you live, what's convenient, where you grew up, where your uncle lives, where you vacation. None of those strategies are going to help you execute an investment business where you can actually get the money coming in that's going to help you meet your financial goals. Be very strategic about where you look. So I actually believe where you look is more important than any other factor that's out there. And there's too many to mention, but if you use Privy or not, like I'll tell you right now, if you use Privy and you're looking in Sioux Falls, you're probably going to fail and you're going to cancel your Privy account. But if you use Privy and you look in Milwaukee or Chicago or a host of other markets like Indianapolis, St. Louis, Kansas City, Cleveland, you will succeed. It's also not what list you're pulling. It's not if you're pulling a foreclosure list or if you're pulling a probate list, you're pulling vacancies or absentee owners. It's not who your coach is. It's not who your mentor is. It's not if you're going wholesale versus long-term rental. It's not whether you're doing short-term rental versus fix and flip. It's not whether you're using a cold calling strategy or you're doing door knocking or you're doing, driving for dollars. It's also not what tool you use. Are you doing, ringless voicemail? Or are you using a CRM? Are you using all those things don't matter. If you look in a high investor activity area, it increases your chances tenfold of succeeding in your business. Now, the next question is, well, what about an area like Des Moines? Like there's investor activity, there's almost 900. Should I look there? Well, then at that point, you start thinking about compensating factors, right? You can have some level of success here, but again, it's opportunity cost. Every minute I spend in Des Moines is a minute I'm not spending in Indianapolis.
All right, so, can I interject for a sec?
Of course.
All right, so, it's one thing to show a tool, okay? It's one thing to roll out a software program and show people what it does. But what I love about what you're doing, Benson, is you're discussing strategy. You're discussing how to use the tool and the strategy for it. It's not just about sitting in front of a program. It's thinking about the strategy. Like, this is brilliant. Look, I love this approach of Don't be investing where you live or where you're from or this or that. Use data. This is investor data. You can't get this anywhere else in this kind of format where you're like, all right, where are the deals happening? I mean, look at down there by Chicago. I mean, so tell us more. As you go through this, that is the thing that I think is going to help things click for people is you're telling them what this does and how it does it, but why you need it. And that is so key.
It is. And that's part of what this challenge is going to be about. And we'll talk more about the challenge later, Rayana, but we're going to really dig deep. We're going to have a 3-day boot camp where we teach you exactly how to use the tool, all of the whys to do it, and also the hows. Right?
Talk about it right now. Yeah.
Well, we are. Yeah. We're not going to have the full 3 days, but this is going to be a very, kind of like short and dirty kind of explanation of how to use the system. But the 3-day on the 22nd is where you want to be. And then after that is the challenge where we're going to do a 30-day intensive where we with support and community and training. Oh, it's going to be absolutely amazing. But let's
that's
go
what I meant. That's what I
further.
meant. Tell them now about the kickoff and the challenge. 30-day challenge. Like, how many of you are willing to actually commit to a 30-day challenge? He's kicking it off on the 22nd, a week from today, 3-day kickoff boot camp to then do a 30-day challenge. Talk about a little more about that challenge, because this is something you do not want to miss. It's going to get you deals, folks. So talk a little more about the challenge, and then we'll come back to the software.
Yeah. So we have people who subscribe to Privy all the time that have a failure to launch, right? They're just not getting to a point. Like I've talked to people who know the tool as well as I do, right? They're like, oh yeah, and they're bouncing around, they're running comps. And I'm like, how many offers did you write? And they're like, none. I didn't write any offers. And I'm like, well, what's going on here? So there's this blockage in people's minds about taking action. And a lot of it has to do with uncertainty and, limiting beliefs, right? Their inner demon stopping them because the fear of failure or the fear of success or whatever it is, right? They're not taking action. So we thought about a way of like, okay, can we do a challenge where we incentivize people to do the things that you should be doing in your business anyway, using the tool? So we're going to give them the boot camp, which teaches you exactly how to use the tool, as well as the steps needed to use the tool to take action, like determining what a deal looks like, how to write an offer, how to find an investor-focused agent, how to build your buyer's list, how to, what does a contract look like? What are all the terms they're going to bite you in the butt if you don't pay attention to them? If you're going to wholesale, like what does that assignment clause look like? What are all of the situations around an assignment clause you should be concerned with so that deal doesn't go sideways? How do you market your deal? Once you get a property under contract, you need to go and market that thing so that you can find an end buyer who's willing to give you a $10,000 assignment fee. How does that process work? So we're going to be covering all of that. So by the end of that 3-day challenge or 3-day boot camp, you'll know exactly what to do. Then on Monday, the 27th, the 30-day challenge starts. And that's when over 30 days, we're going to be working with you in a community fashion. We're going to have live training, accountability. People are going to be working together. And we built this really exciting contest where the challenge, it's all ranked, and we're assigning points. And we have a leaderboard to incentivize you even further on doing the things you're supposed to be doing. So if you write an offer, you get 1 point in the challenge. If you get a property under contract, I mean, you write up an offer, they accept it, you guys sign the agreement, we give you 20 points. Then, if you can close that deal, we'll give you 100 points. All of those points accumulate over the 30 days. And then at the end of that, there's going to be an ongoing leaderboard. So we'll see that Joe Smith is number 1. He's got 1 closing and 10 properties under contract, and he's got 40 offers out. And then we'll see those there. And then we get people together and we talk about what's working and what's not working. And then at the end, we're going to give away prizes. So we're going to give $500 to the person who has the most points at the end of the challenge. But it isn't just the one person who wins. If you've never done a deal before, this is going to be the best way for you to start taking action by being in the community and knowing you're not doing this alone. Like, you're not in this alone. Everyone's going to be there to help you. I'm going to be doing personal training, and we're going to be talking about all the things having to do with Privy, but also, what if you call a buyer and they bitch you out? Like, what should you do? Right? What does that script look like? What are those? So those are the kind of things we're going to talk about, is all of the different subtleties of the business. And we'll be talking about people's real life experiences. Like, someone may come on and say, yeah, I submitted this offer and I got it under contract. And, I found out that the furnace is bad. What do I do now? Like, can I renegotiate that? Do I cancel the contract? What should I do? And we'll talk about those things. And so this kind of a program has never been done before, where you get the point structure, the community, to win prizes at the end, of where we're just helping you do the things that you should have been doing anyway to get deals done. If you get $500 and you win, amazing. But guess what might happen along the way? You might close a deal, right? Who cares about $500 if you close a $10,000 assignment fee? So
exactly.
That's super fun and exciting. So I encourage everybody to do it. And guess what? It's free. So anybody who doesn't have a Privy account at the beginning of the 3-day boot camp is going to get one for free. You're going to be able to use a free account for a certain number of days. And at the end of that, you're going to decide, do I want to go forward? And you'd have to be an idiot. I mean, this is me being given tough love, sorry, to not do it. Why wouldn't you do it when we're going to give you 30 days? It's a no-brainer,
Benson, and don't ever apologize for tough love. Either give it and stand behind it or don't. But here's the thing. This is just a no-brainer, folks. This is a no-brainer. If you are someone who's been hovering on the sidelines and you've been learning, and you've been saying you're a real estate investor for 1 or 2 or 3 years or however, but you haven't closed a deal yet, he is handing you the keys to the kingdom. He is going in the kickoff next week to walk you through all the basics of how to do a deal, hold your hand, and then for 30 days, give you free access to Privy and create a contest that incentivizes your action. And I mean, he's giving this all to you for free and giveaways.
Let me be clear about one thing, Rihanna. It's free for the boot camp, but then you have to get a Privy subscription to be part of the challenge.
Okay.
All
right.
Now, our subscriptions are less than $100 a month, right? So even that is the no-brainer. It isn't all free. So you have to commit. You have to put skin in the game, right? We know what skin in the game does to people, Rihanna, right? You being, a brain coach, right? If you don't have skin in the game, then it's easier for you to be like, you know what? I'll do it tomorrow.
So what is a Privy membership? Because there's someone asked, Cynthia Spencer's asking, how much is Privy?
It's $97 a month.
Okay, that is a no-brainer. All right, so here's the way to look at that, folks, is getting a deal that could put 10,000, 20,000, 50 grand in your pocket worth a measly $97 and have someone hold your hand and walk you through it, plus the opportunity to win $500 and a bunch of Privy swag and lots of other things. Come on, folks. So who's signing up?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So Benson will have a link. Benson, will you put the link in our chat, and I'll put it in the comments section for the contest.
I will. I'll grab that here in a second too, because I want to grab your link. It'll just take me a minute to grab it.
I'll give it to you. I'll put it in our chat for you.
Okay, if you got
the link to my Facebook group.
No, the link that we sent you when you were going to help us promote the
all right. Let me get that from Patrick. So keep going.
Cool.
With your brilliant self.
Darn self.
Your brilliant self.
All right, I caught you. Okay, so let me take you through this flow again, right? We found a hot market, in Illinois. Okay, now Illinois has some challenges with having to do with assignments, but irregardless, you can still wholesale here. You just have to be smart about how you do it. There's a handful of markets where you they don't allow you to do a bunch of assignments. You can still wholesale though, double close, using LLCs, land trusts, a bunch of stuff. But this here is just to show you the strategy, okay? So the strategy is to target a high investor activity area. So right here, even now that we're in Chicago, we knew that Chicago on the whole was interesting. Well, where in Chicago is interesting? So see, we got 101 up north and 185 over in Rockford, and over here by Naperville, we got 190. And then we got right here we got the 1020. So if I drill down even deeper on this is in the Roseland area. So right in here is one of the hottest areas in the entire Midwest. So I'm just going to circle this. And then I'll be able to dig in a little bit deeper here about what we're looking at. So this is where you would look for deals, regardless of your exit strategy, or regardless of what approach you're going to use. So if you're doing wholesale, fix and flip, buy and hold, all those are going to work better in this market. Also, if you're doing off-market deals, so if you wanted to go and pull a list of, say, foreclosures, this is where you're going to pull it. Because most people, when they pull lists based off of convenience. They like, oh, well, I'm going to pick, 5 zip codes in my area. And then they go and they do ringless voicemail, they skip trace it, and they do cold calling. They spend a bunch of money on that, not thinking ahead. If someone's interested in my offering, right, me potentially buying their house, is the data going to be there to help me analyze it? Are buyers going to be there? Are the ingredients in general going to be there to help me put a deal together? If you pull a list in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, that answer is no. If you pull a list in Roseland, suburb of Chicago in Illinois, then the answer is yes. And this is all of the ingredients. So you can pull lists from Privy. We've got all of that off-market lead data, absentee owners, pre-foreclosures, vacant, zombies, cash buyers, all this stuff is here for you. You can pull lists. We give you up to 10,000 per month for no additional charge. And then that way, if somebody calls you back, then you have the ability to use this data to prove value and also leverage all of these buyers. Every one of these is a buyer. So if you're wholesaling, the most important part of that whole wholesale transaction is your buyer's list. It's more important than the deals, honestly. I would argue that, and I think major people would agree with that. Because if you can go out and if you generate leads and you got people giving you deals, if you don't have a disposition strategy, you don't have people that actually have the capability and ability to give you $5,000 for an assignment fee, then leads don't matter. So again, you're working your way backwards. You find buyers. This is where all the buyers are at. So over here on the left is a property. Look at this one right here. This gives you a sense of how up to date our information is. Look at sold. This actually literally sold yesterday. So in this right here, we got the photo of the house and we got this comparative market analysis. So I'm an agent. I've been in the business for 20 years. I've got access to MLS data, not in Chicago, but I do in Denver. If I wanted to build this report as an agent, it could take me a couple hours. And that's with 20 years experience and direct to MLS data through my access. This comparative market analysis is being built for every single property in the US 24/7 using our comping algorithms and all of our data and analytics. So we show you right here that this property just closed. Here's the photos. You can see how beautiful this thing came out. We know it's direct to MLS data because it's got this blue badge. We can see who the agent was. So if you're looking for an investor-focused agent to work with, then we're going to work with Nakia Evans. She represented this flipper. We got the property remarks, features. If you're an agent, we can show you more detailed information. If you're licensed, you just have to give us your license number. Our system automatically pulls comps for you. So comping in itself is more of an art than it is a science. There's a lot of subtleties and gray areas and things you have to really think about. But we bake the majority of that into our comping algorithm so that we can show you the relevant comparables right out of the gates. And then you have the ability to adjust it. So if you wanted to, use our drawing tool, you can draw a new comp zone. You can adjust comps. You can, change, what timeline you want. We've got this really cool new feature, Rayana, called the comp adjuster. So right here under settings, I can come in here and I can say, I only want houses that were built within a 10-year plus or minus of my year built. Let's say I want a comp radius that's 3 miles wide instead of a half a mile, because I'm looking in farm country, which you should never do if you're doing flips or anything that wholesales, because there's not enough investor activity to get a successful deal in farm country. It's not worth your time. So that's all editable and it's all customized. And then below that, we show you the details of the flip itself. So this is one of the features that people love about Privy, Rayona, is this. This is like a real world flip and show, fix and flip show. So this house was purchased from the MLS. Here's what it looked like before it was flipped.
Yeah, I love that right there. Just pause for a second.
Yeah.
Because typically people would have to do this on their own website or on their own social media posts. There isn't a site except for Privy where they can actually show on a public forum, unless they do it themselves. Here is the before and after. I love that. I also like that extra piece of the search tool for comps because they're just time savers. But this is phenomenal. And I love how much investor activity is being sourced here. This is great. Keep going.
It is. This is valuable information. One of the things that you have to do to feel comfortable investing outside your backyard, you guys, is getting comfortable with another market. And again, this is a paradigm shift, but this is important for anybody listening. It's not whether or not you can drive by a house that's going to help you. It's knowing what a deal looks like based off the data. Now, the data could be quantitative data like this right here, which is they bought it for $93,000, sold it for $199,000. They had a gross profit of $106,000. Their percentage of ARV was 47%. They got it from the MLS, right? There's a whole host of people out there, Rayona, who tell you you can't find deals on the MLS. Based off of our numbers with our data analytics team, looking at the whole US, it's anywhere from 55 to 70% of all deals come from the MLS. So if you're ignoring MLS leads as a major source of your deal flow, you're already eliminating more than half of all the opportunities out there. And we wonder why it's so hard to find a deal. Well, most people, it's self-inflicted wounds. They're putting themselves in a worse position to not find deals by not looking in the right area, number one. Two, not looking at on-market deals, and then everything else they're doing wrong, right, with the data. So stop giving yourself self-inflicted wounds. The majority of the reason why you haven't done a deal yet, or maybe why you closed one last summer and you haven't closed one since, is your fault. You're not using the right strategy to look for deals. You were smiling like you wanted to say something, Rayona.
No, I'm shaking my head like I just love it. I mean, this is a tool that is handing people deals on a silver platter, and the way you're explaining it, the strategy. But the reason I was shaking my head and smiling is there's a lot to this business, but when you break it down, there are just a set of very simple skills that if you would just sit still long enough and learn them, figuring out a deal isn't that complicated. What I love about a tool like this is it can do a majority of that for you. But like you said, you can't just drive around in a neighborhood. That's what made me laugh. And just, oh, well, that looks like a good one. You gotta know how to analyze. You gotta know the numbers. It's not just the Mayo formula. You got to be able to pull comps. So I like how you're presenting this, Benson. And again, I like that you're adding the mindset that needs to go with it and the strategy. Tell us more.
Yeah. So this is what a deal looks like, right? So what I teach people to do is to look at the last 10 to 20 closed deals in their target market as they're doing a research project. Like, you don't have to, we're not choosing Chicago right now. We're doing the research. You might do this process for 2 to 3 markets and then figure out where you really want to double down. Down below that, we can see here that this is all the county record data. So we've got the assessor's information. If there was a mortgage on the house, we'd show it to you. We got the property history, listing history, all the transaction history here. But what's most important right here is what we're going to teach you guys to do through the challenge is Number one, how to build a buyer's list, because if we're going to find some low-hanging fruit, wholesale is one of the fastest ways to closing a deal and getting a check. We want to build a buyer's list. We want to build a list of people who are doing deals today that if I find a property that looks good and I can get it under contract, who am I going to give that to who's going to actually do the renovation? Well, DAS Capital Holdings, PLLC, is one of those. And when you look at the map, there's a buyer attached to every single one of these properties. So we know who they are. And if you're a Privy user, you will know who the active buyers that are doing deals today. You don't want to work with just people you meet at the REIA or people you meet on Facebook who say they're buyers. Don't waste your time with those people. Only work with people who have demonstrated that they have the capability, they have the resources to close a deal, and will likely buy a deal from you, but all you have to do is talk to them.
All right, so, can I interject something? Because you're hitting a point right now. You know, and it shouldn't be called reverse wholesaling. It is the real way you do wholesaling. Is a wholesale starts with the buyer. So a lot of newer investors, you know, they'll go and buy a buyer's list from Batch Leads, or they'll go into Facebook groups and get a list of you know, real estate investors they never talk to, they don't interact with them. It's this nameless list of 400 people on their buyer's list, and they've not warmed up that list. They haven't contacted those buyers. They don't know what those buyers are looking for. This is the most important part of wholesaling, is that you've got a viable, realistic, proven buyer's list. Do you want to say more about that, Benson?
No, I think you just put a cherry on top of it. Like, don't work with people who are going to waste your time, right? And most people are pretenders. So you can use the data to be able to do that. So the next thing is, if I was in a pull list, I would just download the list from here. Again, we got a download button. And then what I would do is also use this same data to find deals that I can do today. So this is where our patent lies, Ariana. It's patent pending. So if I click this button that says find similar active deals, Privy goes in and that pulls comps on every single property that's available in this market. And we're going to look for properties that are below a certain percentage of ARV. You define what the discount is based off of what you see other investors are actually doing in the market. And we'll lower it to say 55%, and based off your conversations with your buyers. So I just changed one thing, and now again, it's going to show us properties that match. And these are all properties you can buy right now. So this house right here, this came on the market just yesterday. Here's the house, right? Obviously it needs work. It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,017 square feet. It's only $99,000. You can't buy a garage for that much in Colorado, it seems. You scroll down here and you're looking at the comparables. You can see here that all of these blue comparables are the comps that tell us that this house is a deal. See down here, Rihanna, all of these ones that have the light gray, the arrow, and the black, those are all flips. The simplest way to determine what the after repair value is of a house that you're analyzing is if the house right next door was fixed and flipped and sold yesterday. This is what that reverse REI strategy does, is it puts you in a scenario where you have a house that's right down the street that was just fixed and flipped. This house that I can buy for $99,000 is down the street from a flip that sold for $245,000. They paid $105,000 for theirs. We can get ours for $99,000. That puts this house at 41% of the after repair value. That's a deal. This is the simplest way to find opportunities in an automated fashion where the algorithm is doing the heavy lifting. And again, the most of us aren't doing this full time, you guys. So you have to figure out ways of doing more with less time, right? You got to leverage yourself. You can leverage algorithms and automation and data to go out and pluck these things out of the air. Like you could spend $30,000 on mailing campaigns and cold calling and skip tracing and never find a deal that's at 44% of the ARV that you can write an offer on.
But you have to know enough, everyone, to be able to even know, like what he just showed you. You have to know enough. You have to put effort and time into the education portion so that when you use a tool like this, you can actually see those opportunities. You're not just looking at a bunch of, oh, well, you know, that's listed for this and that. This software is showing you how to cherry pick the comps that are the best for what you're doing as a real estate investor. But you're not going to see that if you don't know ARV, if you don't know how to analyze a deal, if you know, none of those numbers are going to make sense if you don't know the basics. That's why this kickoff that he's doing next week, starting on Wednesday, the 22nd, is so important. He's going to break down the basics and hold your hand and take you through the fundamentals and show you how Privy can help you with all that. Keep going, Benson.
Absolutely. I apologize, Rihanna. I have a hard stop in 4 minutes, okay? So you can see here, you guys, there's so many deals. This one's 99,000. This one's 130,000. The system finds those for you automatically. Then all you have to do is just go to the filter, click Save Search. You can get email alerts up to every hour on properties that are found automatically using our software. And then you just sit back and wait for those deals to come in. And then you have to look at those with your own two eyes and say, okay, this one's a deal, this one's a deal, this one is not a deal because the comp's on the other side of a major highway, but if I can get it for $20,000 cheaper, it is a deal. Like, all that is up to you, but we're gonna do 90% of the work for you. So this is all the stuff that we're gonna be training you guys how to do next week, the 22nd. Rihanna put the link in the chat there for you. Go and get registered. We're gonna give you a free account of Privy to use. And then if you decide you want to come on board with Privy, you sign up, you get your Privy account, and then you can take that 30-day challenge with us. And we're going to walk you through every little step along the way. If you're an active person and you've done 10 deals this year, be there. It doesn't matter if you're new or if you're experienced or if you're a wholesaler, if you're a fix and flipper. This is for everybody to participate in. And I guarantee you, you're going to love it. And you're going to have fun doing it. Rihanna, this is a stressful business. And most people get so bogged down with the inertia of all the things they got to do that they don't enjoy it. You're going to have fun during this training, the boot camp, the 30-day challenge. You're going to absolutely love it. I promise you. It's going to be a blast.
I love it. I love it, Benson. And he's just shown you the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to it than just a little bit, but both of us are pressed for time because we have other engagements after this. So Benson, I will put my link for you guys to sign up for this challenge in the comments section. And also, you know, if you have any questions for Benson, I and my VA Rose will just be paying attention to the comments from this podcast so that we can ask Benson those questions for you. And Benson, thank you so much for squeezing us into your busy day. I'm looking forward to,
love it.
You know, seeing the kickoff and the challenge. I'll be on vacation when you're actually doing the kickoff, but I will probably start the challenge. Well, I'll still be on vacation, but we'll talk about it because I want in. Anyway, everybody, so let's get you signed up and doing deals using Privy. Thanks, Benson.
Let's do it. Thanks, everybody.
Any parting words?
Yeah, just go. If you want to learn more, go to getprivynow.com. Getprivynow.com to learn more. Rihanna's going to put the link to register in the show notes, and then you can call 844-438-7748 to talk with somebody on our staff to ask any questions. But thanks so much for having me. Thank you, Rihanna.
Yes, 844. Give it to me one more time.
844-438-7748.
All right. Thanks, Benson.
All right, thanks.
See ya. Bye, everybody.